unlike George R.R. Martin, here at the Explosion Network, we put in work and we make stuff and put it out. That's why we've got another show. It is south of King's Landing. It is the official Explosion Network after show for Game of Thrones Season 7. And you may be like, hey Dylan, that's odd. The season hasn't started yet. What are you doing in front of my YouTube screens? Didn't Viewing Gods end like a week or so ago? That's crazy. What are you doing here? We're here with a special prediction talk about going into Season 7 episode. But from now on, the rest of the weeks after this, us here currently, anyone else, a few other people, gather, come in and out. We're going to dissect each and every episode of Game of Thrones this season. Gather here for about half an hour or so. Very similar to what me and Nick did on Viewing Gods, if you watch that, every week. So that's great. Everyone happy to be here. Jack Cruz, Ashley Hobley, excited to talk Game of Thrones?
Yeah, let's do it.
Plat,
Get
plat.
out!
You know nothing, Dylan Blight.
Oh, we're already in with the Game of Thrones puns.
I was going to
Very
go with
good, very
stab
exciting.
stab instead of plat plat, but it just didn't feel right.
Do whatever you
Didn't
need
feel
to
right.
do.
It didn't
Do
feel
whatever
right.
you need to do. So I just want
That's
to...
the tamest one you could have gone with, Jack. So
Stab stab, yeah.
I found an article on independent.co.uk that quickly runs over every character from season 6 and what happened to them. So just kind of going to rush over their article real briefly so all of us can be up to date and whoever's watching the video can be up to date on what's happening also. So Cersei Lannister orchestrated the arson of the Great Serpent using the wildfire. She burned down the whole building with all of the Tyrells in it.
Remember that.
Lannister, the sept was given out. It's just everyone died. If you don't recall that moment, that happened towards the end of the season. And then of course Tommen was like, "Fuck this shit," and he just jumped off the side of the building there at King's Landing. So that was a pretty cool thing. That it's like, bye, there goes your other son, and then she crowned herself as the queen of the kingdom at the end of the season. That was Cersei's redeeming season after her whole previous season of walking around, shame, things are happening. She gets back, she gets into the crown, she lights a whole fucking place on fire. Pretty much her story last season.
Yeah.
Not really.
yeah,
This
she
is a
pretty
brief
much
version.
fucked everybody up.
A little
fucked
bit more of that,
everyone
but she
Yeah, we're doing brief. Yeah, Jon Snow, who
Jon Snow.
Jon Snow knows
Snow.
nothing. He defeated Ramsay Bolton, of course, and then he got proclaimed.
Well, you're sort of missing the biggest probably thing that happened to him.
He got
No,
brought back to life.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, shock.
Shock!
I keep forgetting that's actually a thing that happened since it was so like just waiting.
Everybody
waiting.
expected it,
Yeah, everyone expected it. And when it finally happened, it kind of wasn't that big of a thing. So he got brought back to life. Everyone kind of proclaimed him the King of the North after defeating Ramsay Bolton. And concurrently at the same time, we witnessed a brand vision that isn't actually like a vision that more or less says that he is the child of a Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, which is probably the biggest thing that happened last season was the lineage reveal
Shocker.
for Jon Snow.
That was cool. That was probably my favorite moment of the season.
That is probably my favorite moment of the last season as well.
It was that oh fuck moment. That was
Very
the oh
much
fuck
so.
moment.
Last
Yeah.
season was fantastic. Heaps of fuck moments. It's great. Love it very much. Daenerys Targaryen. She's heading to Westeros.
Yeah, finally.
Like she has.
Finally.
Only took her
Every
6 fucking seasons.
She's actually on boats. That's pretty much her whole story last season. Tyrion Lannister.
Doing his thing. Fucking around, drinking wine. No one thinks.
He kind of gave up the idea of not wanting to work for the man anymore and decided he'll go back to working for another man, in this case a woman, and decided just to serve another king-queen object, even though he was kind of done for that for a while. So now he's helping serve Daenerys, and he's back on his way to King's Landing, where he's like spent a whole season and a half getting away from. So now he's on his way back to there, and that was kind of his thing. Arya Stark escaped, finally got away from Braavos, which was good because it was kind of getting fucking boring there, to be honest.
Got stabbed in the stomach.
Got stabbed in the stomach. Had a hard season pretty much, but it all worked out pretty well when she fed what's the fuck's children.
Walder Frey.
Walder Frey's children.
Another fucking great
himself.
moment. Another
That was
great
great.
moment.
Ooh, yeah.
Great moment in the last episode. Bran basically had a season on acid as he saw predictions left, right, and center of all sorts of crazy shit. Spoke to the Three-Eyed Raven. Spent most of the season just kind of laying in a bunch of trees, smoking some hardcore drugs and seeing visions, and that was pretty much.
Then he fucked it all up.
He did fuck everything up. If the whole show goes to shit, I want everyone to remember that Bran is probably the person who's fault of this. Sansa, she's more or less just wants to be the queen of the North, I suppose. That was her whole season. She puts up with shit. She puts up with Ramsay. She gets revenge on Ramsay. Now she's
dealing with Littlefinger.
She's Queen Bee there, dealing with Littlefinger. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, Littlefinger, big saving moment.
Tim Geddes of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's scheming all the time, but he was actually the person who helped save at the Battle of the Bastards. They would have lost if it wasn't for Littlefinger coming in with the help there at the last second. Melisandre resurrects Jon Snow, of course, but then she is banished. Presumably she will turn up yet again because she's not there. Yara Greyjoy tried to fuck Daenerys. Did not work out. She's not into that shit. So that didn't work out too well for her. Davos, kind of just...
But in Davos?
He was like being the best mate. He's now best mates with Jon.
Yeah.
Says, Jon, you're king of the North. I'm going to be your best friend ever. Theon, kind of getting over his life
Still no
trauma. Dick. Still no dick. That's probably not going to have...
Probably not going to get that fixed anytime soon.
Brienne of Tarth did the whole weird storyline where she helped was trying to trade the king, one of the North's people out of that whole castle thing. With Jaime was there, and I was having this whole back and forth, like betrayal storyline going on. Blackfish, that's who it was. Yeah, Blackfish. The Hound agreed to help the Brotherhood without banners, so
Still
he's now part of them.
Alive.
Still alive.
That was the big
which is the big reveal. Yeah, we found out that the Hound was back alive, and apparently no one actually dies in Game of Thrones lately. And he's the Brotherhood without banners, which is a big deal because we haven't seen them since like season 2, 3, something like that. They haven't really been in it. You see a good shot of the main dude in the Game of Thrones season 7 trailers though, and Jorah Mormont is grayscaled, so he's going to die eventually, and he reveals that to Daenerys finally.
Friend zoned
in the last friend very much friend zoned. So that is.
Was he ever out of the friend zone though?
No, to be honest, he was.
It's like Day Dot.
He was ridiculous to think that was ever a thing that was going to happen. So I just want to just dive in, free flowing, kind of another 20 minutes of conversation, if we could. No real agenda, but to talk about the things that you want to see are going to happen this season, what you think are going to happen, or things that you particularly think might happen. Because my personal thoughts on the season are, we've got 2 seasons left, 2 very focused seasons. There are only 7 episodes and 6 next year or something like that. Very short seasons. They're over an hour each episode still, but there's not many episodes left in the run. There's only like 14, 13 episodes left in the entire run of this show, and they've got 2 big storylines to wrap up. One, who's going to end up on the crown, on the actual throne? Who's going to end up with that crown? That's still not solved. So the actual Game of Thrones, pun intended, storyline needs to be wrapped up. Then the other story we have to wrap up before the show finishes, of course, is what's going to happen with the White Walkers, what's going to happen with the king of the undead dudes over there with his whole army. They're going to burst over the wall eventually. They're going to come into the land. Who's king / queen at this point? Who's going to be leading the charge against them? Who's still alive? What's happening at this point? The way I see the show going forward in my head is the entirety of season 7, or at least 3/4 of it is going to be a bunch of really big battles and moments leading around the Game of Thrones battle, with the storyline of the Walkers kind of creeping towards the wall. And by the time we get to the end of the season, we've wrapped up. A lot of people have died. A lot of people are going to die this season, I reckon. A lot more than we've ever had die, and I wouldn't be surprised if nearly the entire cast is dead by the end of the season, to be honest. By the end of the season, to be honest. And then at the end of this, we finally have whoever's on the throne. There's no more different factions fighting over it, and then we head into the final season with that whole united front for the first time in the entire history of the show, where everyone's kind of united across the land to stand against the undead army on the other side. So does everyone else agree? Does anyone else have different thoughts about the way the show's going to go? Or
so just wrap up the episode, then you sort of covered it all.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, I think I was sort of thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, there's going to have to be there's not that many characters left, though, that I really give a fuck about. Like, I care about Jamie and John and Sansa. Bran, I don't really give a fuck for. Arya is fine. She'll, whatever she'll do. Davos will die. For all I care, the fucking, Theon and his sister can die. Hopefully, what's her name dies? Dany, because she's boring as fuck. I'm looking forward to it though. I can't wait. Just watching some recap stuff over the last few hours just reminded me how much I love that show and how fantastic it is. And I thought last season dragged a little bit. There was some awesome moments, but there was not enough good stuff in between. It sort of, there was a few episodes that you could have just done without completely. They were just sort of felt like filler. Like they felt like they needed to do it just to fill holes and that kind of thing. And the Blackfish hole, that whole shit was boring as hell. So what I sort of think's going to happen is you'll get to the end of the season. Yeah, a heap of people will have died, and it'll be Dany and... So I think the big death in this season is going to be Cersei. I think she's finally going to get hers. And
who's killing her? Because I think it's pretty obvious it's Jamie.
You think Jamie will kill her?
I think Jamie's going to kill her.
I think she gets eaten by a dragon.
As in the...
Ooh, that would be so good!
Kingslayer. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even think... I assume
it's because at the season... If you remember, like, the season finale, when she's sitting there in the crown and Jamie walks into the room, the look he gives her of complete and utter disgust seeing her sit there is, I'm like, you're thinking, I've got to do it.
He's going to be the Queen Slayer now.
I've got to do it.
So, probably. I think the big death...
Wasn't he already the Queen Slayer?
He was the King. He was the King Slayer.
No, he was staying in bed, the Queen. Never mind.
Everyone's giving a round of applause for that one.
Thank you.
I think she'll be the big death. I think that's pretty obvious. That'll sort of go that way. Unless they flip it and it's someone that we love will die at the end. Jamie could be. Otherwise, it'll be... I think the way I see it ending is it'll drag through. There'll be a lot of filler in between. It'll all be about the North coming... And then the coming across the... I mean, how long can it possibly take to... How many episodes do you think it's going to take for them to sail across the sea?
I'm pretty sure they're going to be there within the first episode.
Do you think so? Yeah. I don't see it. I see them dragging that out for a few episodes.
I reckon
that would be terribly boring.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. I feel like they're
all those horses.
I think it'll be... I don't think they'll get there in the first episode. I think it'll take at least 2 or 3 for them to arrive in... King's Landing, and I think it'll be similar to because I just don't see that climax at King's Landing happening until like the end of the season. So like I imagine they could even stretch it out even further. Like maybe they encounter some pirates, or they come across an island or something they have to fucking liberate from more slaves. And then you've got to remember as well. We've also got the fucking serpent people or whatever they are from the other chick who. Remember the guy who got
got his eyes crushed.
Yeah. So his friends over the other side,
the sand serpent chicks.
Yeah. So they'll come into it at some point.
They're coming to kill Cersei.
Yeah. So the way I see it ending is everyone finally arrives at King's Landing in like the second last episode or the last episode. There's a massive battle. Some people die that we didn't want to die, and some people die that we probably did want to die. At the end, somehow they work out. Bram gets there or something, and hey, it's your sister. You guys are Targaryens. Don't kill each other. And then it's all right. Now we've got to fight the White Walkers at the end. So that's sort of how I see it ending.
Ash?
Yeah, pretty similar. I think it's just going to build up to the battle between the 3 factions, and then it'll be interesting whether they wrap that up and then face the White Walkers, or whether they're still fighting when the White Walkers attack. I think would be the more interesting of the two, and then have season 8 be the 3 factions against the White Walkers sort of fighting against each other to put themselves into a position of power would be the way to go, I think, but I guess it's just wait and see at the moment.
Who do you know?
there's a lot of interesting things, like characters that, like as I mentioned before, the Brotherhood without banners. Like where do they come into it? Where do they fall into it? Because in the trailer you see him like saw one of the main dude, like the eye patch over his eye that like will die and come back to life, and he has his dude bringing him back to life. It's like, who are they fighting? Like, what's their actual stance again? Like, what big battle are they taking part in? Which stance? There's the shot of Daenerys outside the gate of King's Landing. There's the shot of another battle happening between two factions. I couldn't actually work out who they were because they just seemed like any old soldiers to me, happening in a field somewhere. So there's a lot of battles going to happen this season, and a lot of big battles. And I think that after last season and the Battle of the Bastards, which is, no matter how many times I watch that episode and that battle sequence, I'm still amazed. Like that's a TV show. Like, I remember the first time I watched it, I'm like, this is like some Ridley Scott Gladiator level shit happening on a TV show. And I know it's HBO, like it's premium TV, but it's still crazy to me that that's like the quality of TV we get now. But I think they're going to take a lot from practice and learning from that battle. And I also think they're just going to try and, I think the reason the show took so long and they've spent a lot of money on it and it's only 7 episodes is because they're just going to try and take something like that, the Battle of the Bastards, just go, yeah, instead of just making that like 3/4 of one episode, let's just do that like 2 or 3 times.
Do you think
like
so?
Having an epic thing. Yeah.
Oh, maybe 2 or 3. I don't see them doing it more than once or twice. Like, because it's just, you saturate it and it doesn't become as special then if you do it too many times. The reason the Battle of the Bastards was so great was because they built up to that for the whole season, and they really did a great job of turning Ramsay into the most hated man on television, and they finally got there, and it was epic, and you thought like, there was so many points, so many different ways it could have gone.
The only reason I reckon they could still do it is because you can put Cersei on the opposite end of a battle, and a lot of people are going to still feel similar, maybe not as much hatred because she's not like. But a lot of people still like hate that character, and if you stick her in the end, it's like, ugh. And a lot of people actually hate Daenerys. Like, you sound like you're not a Dany fan. So a lot of people, if she's facing off against, if they actually make her face Jon in some kind of battle, which is something I think they might do and then maybe pull what Ash is doing with the like running, like, no, don't fight, you guys. But like seeing Dany versus Jon Snow, there's no way you don't see a battle with those two on the opposite ends, and that gets you like, I don't know who to root for. Like, what am I doing? Like, there's so many characters. I think they can still have those epic moments. Like, the Battle of the Bastards was really epic. The moment that makes it is that shot of like Jon where he gets off his horse with all the arrows, and there's like the horses come charging in. And he just like picks up his sword. And he's just like, fuck's sake, like full, like he just like goes full fucking man mode on beast mode on everyone. It's crazy. Like, dives in. So I think they can. They've never shot an actual proper full-scale battle with a huge army on every side. The Battle of the Bastards was a pretty small-sized battle on each side, and the biggest battle that I think that we could have seen
the invasion of King's Landing.
Yeah,
the invasion of King's Landing.
Yeah, but that was small quarters. Like, it was inside the gate and the city and all that sort of stuff, and it started on the river or whatever, the lake when they shot the stuff. But then Tyrion comes in and he starts helping out or whatever. But it's like, no, I mean like on a field, like 2 sides face each other, like thousands, like Lord of the Rings type shit.
Yeah,
maybe
like facing each other.
I think they just get a little bit more creative than that. Like, that to me seems not like Game of Thrones MO. Like, it's going to be a bit more.
Well, there's going to be dragons.
Yeah, exactly. So I could see I could see it being like I see like the big battle of the year of the season being King's Landing, and the way I predict it happening is that you got Jon Snow coming from the north, and then and Dany coming from the sea, and Cersei in the middle, and it's and the other guy's coming from the east, and it's like they're coming from all sides, and she's sort of in the middle of it. Like, what the fuck? That's why I can see them milking like 2 or 3 like at least 2 episodes in a battle at King's Landing towards the end of the season.
What do we think they're going to do? Like, it's very easy to talk about Dany and Jon and Cersei, all these characters that are big figureheads, kind of pieces on the chessboard for the big battles. But what do we think about the smaller characters that you don't know where they're really going to fit in? So your Aryas, your Briennes, your your Littlefinger, you know, these sorts of characters that could switch and change throughout the season, meet different places, may or may not take place in the big battles. Like, are you looking forward to them? Or
Yeah, they're always good little. I mean, Arya's. I think she'll just continue on about her sort of business, getting through her list.
do you reckon we're going to get to that family reunion finally? Like,
I hope
all
so.
3 of them?
Dear God.
All 3 of them?
Get to what? Sorry,
All 4 of
Get to
them.
What?
4 of them, true. Yeah,
What
we
was-
haven't had a Stark family reunion
Since, like,
if
season 1.
Arya,
Yeah, I get.
Arya
Yeah,
gets back
I
with
don't think.
Jon
I
and
don't
then-
think it will. I think they've come close so many times. I mean, you got Sansa and Jon sort of back together now. I think maybe you get Bran being back with them, but not. I don't think. I think Arya just keeps doing her own thing. She keeps working through that list, and she keeps getting to. You know, I could see her doing. You know, they could do so many things with Arya, in that like she might fuck something up really bad, like. You know, Jamie might be like, all right, he's about to do something epic to help like everyone and kill Cersei or do something, you know, insane. And then she's like, she finally gets him and is fucking, you know, does him. Pretty sure he's on her
Is
list.
Jamie on the list?
Pretty sure he is.
I'm not actually
Cersei
sure.
is.
I can't remember.
Cersei
even
is,
though I've
yeah.
got even though I've got a T-shirt with the list on it. So
Anyway, I can see her just working through a list. I think they'll just sort of stick to that. It's pretty sort of simple for that kind of thing. Like, all right, what do we do with this character? She's already got her like sort of mission that she's on.
so what about someone like Jamie?
I think he'll just. I think his will be a really interesting arc. I think it'll be, you know, he'll be battling with his own sort of, you know, his love for his sister,
His loss of his children.
his loss of
really.
his children, and
Yeah.
his and just like him battling with, you know,
What's right and what's wrong?
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Be very conflicted.
yeah.
Ash, is there any of these smaller characters, like the main ones, that you're looking forward
I want to see what
Or-
Sam's going to do. What's he...
That's right, Sam. That's
Yeah,
right.
what's
He's
he
at the
gonna do?
library.
He's
I
at the
forgot
library.
all about Sam. What is he doing at the
He
library?
doesn't know anything. He didn't know John died. He didn't know he came back to life. He doesn't know he's
Yeah.
King of the North. What's
Like
going to
how
happen?
you're the only person. I completely forgot about Sam as even the character, and you're like, I can't wait for Sam.
I remembered Sam. I just
Yeah.
didn't have any interest.
No.
He had a very boring season.
How
last
big's
year.
that baby
He was
gonna
very
be?
there.
Yeah, oh god. We got to meet his dad. He got to see his dad. That
Yeah,
was
his-
great.
his
They had,
dad's a
they had a dinner
dickhead.
party.
Yeah.
He stole a sword. Great.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was the whole.
I sound like
He
I'm
has
really
killed a
down
White
on-
Walker though, so
I sound like I'm really down on this show, but I love it. Like it's probably one of like in my top 3 favorite shows of all time. Absolutely fantastic. There's just a lot of shit in between the good moments, but the good moments make up for it. It reminds me a little bit of Breaking Bad. The way the Breaking Bad you'd have, you know, the episodes of 45 minutes or whatever, and you know they like Breaking Bad's in that top 3.
there's
of
no
my favorite shows
episode of
all
Breaking
time.
Bad.
Sorry.
There's no
no-
bad episodes of
No,
Breaking
I'm
Bad.
not saying there is, but I'm saying like there's a lot of episodes where it's sort of it drags for like the first 40 minutes, and then the last 5 minutes just like holy fucking shit, and it makes you want like the next episode even more, which is a similar way
You're
that I feel
crazy.
about Game of Thrones.
I'll agree to disagree, but this isn't a debate about Breaking Bad. Luckily,
Breaking Bad's
We'll be here
fantastic.
all
I'm not
day.
saying anything bad about Breaking Bad. I'm just there's some episodes that are like slow moving episodes and not a lot of stuff's happening, and you get to the end and it's like you have that wow moment. And Game of Thrones is very similar to me. There's always a lot of stuff happening.
I presume this season's going to fix your problems with the low episode count and everything like that.
Hopefully it's
They
going to be a
don't
lot
have-
tighter.
They don't have. Hey,
Hopefully it's going to be a lot tighter. Seeing as they've got
yeah, that's
fewer
what I
episodes,
think.
yeah.
Like a very long movie just spread out over a couple weeks,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. I
Like a
hope so.
7-hour movie spread. So,
I hope so.
I want to ask this question each and every week as we go through, because it may change. Your answer may change as the season continues,
Yeah.
and it probably will. So I want to check up as we go. Who do you think's going to end up on the crown?
I think Danny.
With the crown?
Danny.
Danny gets yelled
Yeah.
at everywhere.
Yeah, I think Danny.
Really?
I think that's the obvious answer because I think
Yeah.
John will get there and then he won't want it. He'll just want to protect from the White Walkers, and Danny will finally get it, and then she'll
Yeah.
be on the Shelver Dragons, and that'll be that.
I think John would be content with Danny being on the throne. I don't think he's interested in the
Yeah.
power. So
No, exactly. But who knows? Could be Littlefinger.
it's going to be January.
That's my answer is Littlefinger.
You think Littlefinger? Do you think? Are you saying like at the very end of the show, Littlefinger will be? Yeah.
I think it may change a couple times throughout the season. I think you could see a fake out. I think you could be like, Danny could end up there, and then she gets like on episode 4, but by the time we end up at the end of the season,
Little fingers
it could
on
be
it.
She
someone.
dies in
I reckon
episode 1 and we're all wrong.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Your answer might change, but at the end of each week, come back to see whose answers, what they're saying, what's their reasoning between it. My answer is currently Littlefinger because I think he's the person that wants it the most, and he's kind of earned it. I mean, he's got there by being a prick, but he wants it.
So my
Really
question,
bad.
my question for you guys is: who do you think is the first big name to die in this season?
Cersei.
Do you think Cersei's the first
Oh.
one? No, I don't see Cersei dying early.
Who's yours?
I could see it being someone like Sansa or like
Oh,
killing like someone we love.
Not after everything she went through.
Yeah, I could see it being something like that, or like even Sir Davos or someone we love. Like
No, not
dying.
Davos.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I feel like they're gonna go someone we love, or it'll be a character like that. We'll get it. We'll get it early. Or
Ooh, Ash. Ash, what are you
Tyrion.
thinking?
Maybe
No, not Tyrion.
Brienne or what's his
Not
name?
Brienne.
no, Brienne.
No, Tyrion's friend, the eunuch.
Nah, he
What's
won't
his
die.
name?
Oh, yeah.
No one
yeah,
cares
I
about
can't
him.
remember
They don't kill the people with no dicks. Otherwise,
No balls.
we could have got rid of fucking what's his name a long time ago, Theon.
Yeah, they are.
So hopefully,
It'll be interesting
hopefully
to
it's Theon.
So,
Put him out of his
final
misery.
question. Final question before wrapping up this week's episode. I just want to know we've just been talking about storylines, main characters, mini characters. What is the character and storyline you're legit looking forward to following the most? Ash, is yours Samwell?
Yes,
Or is it
definitely.
someone else?
No, probably Dany, seeing as I'm thinking she's going to end up on the throne. She would be the one I'm most...
Excited about
That grouping, I think, is the most
Yeah.
interesting, probably. Now that they've got the Sand Serpents and the Greyjoys on their side. See how that dynamic works out.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Jack,
Jon Snow, a bit of Jon Snow, and I want to see sort of how Jamie's going to hold this. I'd like to see a little bit more, not so much Bran because just lays down pretty much for the entire show,
Yeah.
but
gotta
more
be
so
tough.
like. More so like the flashback. I don't know whether we're going to get more like flashbacks or whether that's
I think
we
this
got
season's gonna
we
get
got
pretty
enough of that.
supernatural.
Like we got all right, we got to that the reveal of what the whole thing was about with the tower and all that. So, but just a bit more. Just give me some Jon Snow and
give me some Jon Snow.
Jon Snow
Just-
and just for like follow his sort of story because I think he's a great character. I think he's a fantastic character.
I'm looking forward to Arya Stark the most, even though
Yeah.
she's actually probably my favorite character in the show, and I'm looking forward to her storyline, especially after seeing her go through after turmoil over in the freaking Bankland over there for what like 2 seasons
Feels
basically,
like it.
putting up with shit.
She lost her
wasting
eyes,
time over there,
stabbed in the
losing
stomach.
her eyesight, all sorts of shit. Stabbed, had to put up with that stupid
Yeah,
fighting
with the
that
stick,
stupid-
constantly.
Doing the Hannibal
So
Lecter
nice.
thing.
It was fucking horrible. I was so happy, like seeing her get her revenge. I'm like, yes, girl.
Yeah, that was
So,
pretty dope.
yeah.
That the
I'm
Walder
looking
Frey,
forward to her.
yeah, it was dope at the end there.
I fucking hate him.
Yeah, he
So
sucks.
that's it.
Yep.
Game of Thrones season 7 kicks off in 1 week's time, and I'm looking forward to coming back to talk to you about it very soon. It'll be me, it'll be Jack, it'll be Ash, it might be Tom, it might be someone else. Who knows? We're going to be here to talk about Game of Thrones each and every week, though. So if you want to hear our thoughts or someone else's thoughts, don't listen to anyone else's thoughts. The Explosion Network's thoughts on Game of Thrones are the number 1 opinions on Game of Thrones in Australia. I'm not going to say the world. I'll say
Maybe.
Australia. I'll stick to what I
Possibly.
know. I'll stick to it.
Definitely in the top 10.
Number 1 Game of Thrones video after show in the Oceanas. Thank you for joining us.
Plat,
Don't
plat.
forget to subscribe.